What's going on, YouTube? So it's your boy 5 Star P. Today we're gonna be talking about how to get the film look in Lightroom. So with that being said, by the end of this video, you'll be able to, basically get a better understanding of how to emulate film. With that being said, hopefully you find the video educational or whatever. Make sure you like, subscribe, do what you gotta do, and yeah, definitely engage with the content though, because it helps me a lot. But anyways, so we're gonna start by basically looking at our raw file. This is where it is right now. So this is the raw file and this is the edited photo. Number one, lighting is key. So if you want this look, definitely pay attention to the lighting. I opted for harsh sunlight because I like the way that harsh sunlight looks when you're taking film photos. And yeah, you can opt to have like a strobe light or something like that, or some type of continuous light, but definitely don't put a softbox on it if you want this look. Definitely just leave the light bare. Maybe a Fresnel would be nice, but yeah, definitely not a softbox modifier. Anyways, other than that, as far as the camera goes, I use the Sony A7 IV to get this look. You can use any camera you want, really. I would suggest basically just, if you can get a film emulation camera like an X100V or the Nikon ZF, those are really good film cameras. That'll basically get you to the point of looking like film a lot faster. But yeah, you could use any camera you want. Let me know in the comment section below if you guys want this as a preset, and I'll just give it to you for free, because I'm cool like that. But yeah, let me know if y'all are interested. But with that being said, let's get into it. So our exposure, raw file exposure, I think I underexposed it. So I definitely went up on the exposure so that I can see the photo like I want to see it, so that's properly exposed. I tend to bring my contrast down on my film emulations just because I like how that looks. It starts to look that if you push the slider that way. I kind of like when my emulation is going that direction as opposed to this direction, because it just looks cooked sometimes. So yeah, definitely I tend to bring the contrast down. As far as highlights go, there's not a lot of crazy highlights in there. I actually ended up pumping more highlight detail into this, or mid-tone detail into this. More on that later. But I tend to bring the highlights down to retain all the information in the highlight region, so it's not like blown out like that. I really don't like the look of that. And on top of that, film has a lot of dynamic range, so your highlights should try to be as protected as possible for the most part. There are some other scenarios where it just makes sense, like this one. I'm gonna throw one up on the screen, but other than that, I tend to protect my highlight detail or I protect it as much as possible to really emulate how film would react to highlights. So my shadows, I would bring the shadows up for the most part. I like to see a good amount of detail in my shadows, and I think that more lends to the film look than making it look like that. So yeah, I definitely try to bring the shadows up. And for the whites and blacks, I tend to leave that alone for my film emulations, because I feel like I can really just use the tone curve to do what I gotta do. So I really don't really touch the whites and blacks, because the tone curve gives me all the adjustment I need, or all the room to adjust what I need for those parameters. So what you want to do is create an S curve. So it starts off like this. You'll see that the tone curve is flat, so you want to make an S curve, but not just any S curve. You're gonna want to make 3 control points first on that tone curve. And what you're gonna do is to raise the first tone curve. Don't raise it like that, because it's gonna look cooked as hell. Basically just do it so that it's tastefully adjusted. And when I say tastefully adjusted, I'll be more clear. You're gonna want to basically raise the blacks don't raise it too much, obviously, like I was saying before, but you just want it so that your blacks don't fall into complete black, or like, you know, like a pitch black like that. Like, you don't want a perfect black, because film doesn't work like that, to make a long story short. For your second control point, if I left it, you know, there's a lot of yeah, it's just gonna raise and wash out the shadows if you bring the shadow area above the original tone curve line. So you're gonna want to bring it back with that second control point that you make. You don't have to bring it down that far. Honestly, like, now that I'm looking at it, it's kind of cooked. But yeah, try to bring it down below the line, below the diagonal line. And for your mid-tone curves, bring them above the line. It's pretty simple, and I'm doing that because when you're looking at it, I don't want my, you know, my skin tones to look like that. And I think that bring those up helps me to bring the skin tones where I want to get them to. And that basically helps, you know, get to that film look, because that's the way, like, you know, film tends to render skin tones. There's a lot of exposure in the midtones in film, so that's what I'm trying to emulate here, and that's that. So for the last tone part of the tone curve, you're gonna want to bring your highlights down just to kind of mimic the highlight roll off of film. To be honest with you guys, I'm not even sure where I learned that. I think I heard it somewhere. I was like, oh, alright, and it just clicked for me. Like, that didn't really, like, that's not off my own inspo or nothing like that. Like, I learned that somewhere. But anyway, they said that, you know, the highlight roll off is better. To be honest, I'm not even too you know, well versed on the fine details of it or whatever, but they said that mimics highlight roll off, so that's how we're gonna rock with it. As far as these adjustments, I don't really touch these, but I obviously wouldn't want it cold. Definitely don't, like, you know, exploit your image too cold. You don't want to go too crazy unless you're trying to go for some crazy look. But this was a beach setting, and it was shot at, like, you know, in the morning time, so this is, you know, how I want the image to look at morning time. So that's, you know, what I did. I didn't want to make it look too warm, like too sunsetty or nothing like that, so this is not what I want, but this kind of lends to more what I wanted the image to feel like. And especially skin tones wise, I didn't want it to look too warm. I wanted it to kind of, you know, I wouldn't say look natural per se, but, you know, I wanted her skin tones to look basically like that, because that looks like film, long story short. Alright, so as for your HSL sliders, I personally like when film renders, like, you know, like dark, denser colors. So like for the reds, I definitely, like, you'll see the red in her lip area. I basically, like, I'd even, like, go ahead to put it more dense. But this is not a good example because there's not a lot of reds in this photo, but I like my colors to be dark when it comes to film, just because I've looked at a lot of film and, you know, do my due diligence to kind of study how film renders and how film works, and I figured through, you know, the trial and error, or looking through a lot of photos, I kind of figured what I like about film. And I like when my colors are dark and dense. So oftentimes I'm gonna, you know, really like drop the luminance on the reds, increase the saturation for sure, so like you'll get like a nice like saturated look in your colors. For the skin tones, I like to leave the orange one and the yellow one kind of like, you know, up, because if you notice, like, that'll basically, you know, increase the exposure in the skin tones, and I like when the skin tones look like that. So basically just move that slider up, move it to taste, because everybody's photo is going to be different, but that is a good rule of thumb to follow. Like I said, for the yellow, it's just about the same thing. I definitely wouldn't saturate these. And for those who know about it, I get a lot of inspiration for how I'm approaching this photo from the way that I think it's called Classic Negative from Fujifilm Works. I just like how it renders colors. Straight out the box, I used it with the X-T4. Straight out the box, I'm not too much a fan of it straight out the box, but it's a really good starting point, and I like how it, you know, does things. And yeah, so that's like the one of the main looks I have in my head when I'm like trying to emulate film. For the greens, I always like to basically desaturate my greens and, like, you know, drop the luminance on it. There's not too many greens in this photo, as you can see. Like, you know, whatever greens in there are not gonna, you know, get adjusted the way I would rather them get adjusted. So I'm just gonna kind of leave that alone, because it's not even, to be honest, like, to my eye, it's just not that necessary to adjust it. But that, and then, I mean, if you had another film photo that you're trying to emulate, basically just, you know, do it to taste. There's no blues or aquas or whatever these colors are, because I'm colorblind, in this photo, so we're not going to adjust them, because they literally basically don't matter, because they're not in the photo. And I'll even show you for the newbies that that are just getting to editing. I like to push the sliders around to see exactly what's going on, and obviously we're getting some color shifting here, but I mean, if it went here or it went here, I really could care less, because I could care less in this particular photo. So moving on to the color grading, what we're doing for the midtones, like I was saying before, it means basically the same thing I did in the S-curve. You can basically do that here as well, just to fine-tune your adjustments. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, I dropped the shadows on this color slider right here. Sometimes I pump a little bit more exposure into the midtones with this slider as well, but you know, it's really not necessary for this photo. And yeah, I didn't do anything to the highlights either. So as far as colors go now, I pumped a little bit more. I think this is orange. I'm not 100% sure, because I'm colorblind, but I think it's orange. And I color graded the photo just slightly, just basically just pumped a little bit of orange into the midtones right there, and that is basically it for the color grade. Now moving on to the effects, I like when film looks like really striking. I mean, in my opinion, like, I don't know how to explain it, but I like when it looks like this. Like, I don't like when film renders like that, or if like whoever is, I don't know, but if film looks like that, I just wouldn't like the look of it. So hold on, I just got, I guess, what do you call, video bombed? I don't know, but wifey just came through. You know, I have a wife now, so I guess I gotta be prepared for that. But anyways, yes, so back to what I was saying, I wouldn't like if the texture was down here, just because it looks too soft in my opinion. I'm not a fan of it. Like when the texture looks like that. To make a long story short, I mean, it just looks better in my opinion, so that's how I rocked with it. The clarity slider, like I said again, like if it was looking like that, I mean, for some case scenarios, like you know, that would be pretty hard, but I'm not in this one, so I like it like that, and that's how I achieve this look. So that's, you know, how I'm gonna push it, or that's the look how I wanted it to look in my head, so that's where I push the slider. Excuse me, I didn't add any vignette to it just because I wasn't too much a fan of it. I mean, it's just, I don't know, I'd rather not in this scenario. Now here's the thing with grain, and matter of fact, notice I didn't say anything about grain up till now, because, well, I'm going down in order, but I, like, you know, grain is definitely not the most important thing about film photos. But what I will say is that sometimes, like, you gotta really look close to see the grain on the laptop sometimes, because I feel like sometimes, like, if I export this, it'll almost look like a clean image with no grain when I throw it up and airdrop it to my phone or whatever. So it's like, you know, sometimes I end up pumping a little bit more, but between 30 and 40 you should be able to see it. Like, you shouldn't have to go up to like 50 grain or nothing like that. But nonetheless, I'm not too much a fan of, like, you know, pumping like, you know, 60-90% grain. Like, you know, look how like ridiculous that looks like when you pump it up too much. I just feel like that's not the look I want to go for. So 40 is really good in my opinion. And yeah, that's pretty much that. I don't really do too much with the size. Just let it be. With the sharpening, I'm always gonna put it up to like between 90 and like 115. That's usually like right on the money for me. In this case, I used 90. And other than that, I didn't denoise the photo or nothing like that, but that is how I achieved this look. Over here, it's a similar process. This one I raised the exposure. This is how the raw started out. Definitely clean up your photos. Now that I'm looking at the raw again, definitely clean up your photos, because obviously it matters, you know what I mean? So clean up your photos. But anyways, it's basically the same process. This one I brought the shadows up, highlights stayed the same, you know, I dropped the whites a little bit in this one. But this one I ended up, alright, so I'll show you what it looks like without the tone curve. Alright, and this is what happens when you have the tone curve. So I'll zoom it out because it's just kind of blaring in your face. It's like that zoomed up, but this is what it looks like with the tone curve and without the tone curve. So this is, I mean, honestly, like, I'm doing all of this to taste, based on my experience with, you know, looking at a bunch of film stock and, you know, kind of like grabbing all of the things I like about it and basically just applying it to my work. It's not that much of a, like, it's not that, it's just not that complicated. But you really, like, in order to do this, I really had to go ahead and really just look at the stuff that I like and grab all the inspiration from what I like, apply it to my work, and you know, now we're here. Definitely watched a lot of tutorials. There's a lot of good information on YouTube, but the biggest rule of thumb is to you kind of want to almost overexpose the midtones, because that's one of the main characteristics of film. Like I said, those dense colors from film, like, I honestly should have dropped it like right here, to get that lip where I want it, like the red lipstick, because I wanted the lipstick to pop. This was planned, like, you know, the makeup and stuff like that, so that, you know, it could look the way it looked. But yeah, now that I'm looking back, I should have definitely dropped those reds. But yeah, I mean, I like, you know, low luminance colors, I guess, or, you know, dense colors. I like them to be saturated when I'm going for my film. This one I ended up dropping the midtones or whatever. This is what it looks like without those adjustments. This is like what it looks like with those adjustments. So honestly, yeah, that's what that looks like. Without the effects, with the effects, you know what I mean? That's how we're rocking. It's just how we're rocking. So with that being said, I hope that was very helpful. I hope that was good for you guys. I hope, oh my god, imagine I wasn't recording the screen. That would be so crazy. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys found the video very helpful. If you guys want more videos like this, let me know. I got like a couple in the chamber right now. So yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for your time. Hopefully I help you guys out. I'll catch you in the next one.